the country. Joining us right now to talk about all of this is former Congressman Pete Hoekstra, former chair of the House Intelligence Committee, and, of course, from the state of Michigan. Hello, Congressman.
Hey, hi, Steve.
Always good to talk to you. Welcome back. Okay, so we're getting reports now also that the president and the vice president and the secretary of state are making calls. They're briefing leaders in Congress. Where are we, do you believe?
I believe that with the statement by the vice president yesterday, the statements that the president has made really over the last couple of years. I mean, the president has said, you know, there's a line in the sand, and if Assad uses chemical weapons, he will have crossed that line. The statement by the vice president, or excuse me, by the secretary of state yesterday clearly indicates that this administration believes that Assad has now crossed that line in the sand. So the president has put himself in the position where he now has to act if he's going to have any credibility left.
All right, but how do we know, and maybe you could fill me in on this, how do we know who used the chemical weapons? I mean, you know, we're talking about a side that is not much different from the sides in the Israeli-Palestinian conflicts, gets their training public relations-wise and tactical-wise from the same kinds of groups and people. And we've seen them, you know, forge funerals where the body gets up and walks away, put kids that are supposedly dead in ambulances, or put dead kids in ambulances, take them out and then put them in another ambulance to make it look like that. I mean, I think the rebels, and you know, who, if you know exactly who they are, tell me, but we're talking about a whole mixture of Al-Qaeda and Muslim Brotherhood and others, are capable of using it against their own people to get this exact outcome. So how do we know who used them?
Well, there's a number of issues that we have to go through to determine the reliability of the information or the assumptions that this administration is making. Number one, what kind of assets do we have on the ground in the CI? Human intelligence do we have in Syria that's actually gathering on-site information to inform this presidency? What we know is, just a few years ago, we did not have much of a CIA presence in that part of the world. So anything that we would have, any intelligence that we would have there would have really have to have been built in the last 3 to 6 months. Building a human intelligence network in that short period of time is very, very difficult. So my experience would tell me our human intelligence in Syria is probably not that great and not that reliable. The second thing is, yes, these are very, very evil forces in some parts on both sides of this conflict. Is it possible that the opposition forces could have used it on a civilian population to make Assad look bad? I believe that that's a possibility. That's not out of the realm of possibilities as far as I am concerned. So you have to, based on the strong statements that the president and Secretary of State Kerry made, you have to assume that somewhere they're getting information that allows them to be as forceful as what they have been, and that they've got the certainty that it was the Assad regime that made these attacks.
All right, let's work under that assumption. Although I'm not willing to concede that I believe them, but let's work under that assumption. Yep. What are they going to try to do? I mean, if they lob cruise missiles in, Carney made it very clear today that they're not trying to get rid of Assad. And what's next? I mean, we've heard from Iran, and I don't believe you could be intimidated and afraid, but we've heard from Iran that Israel will get the first strike, if you will, as a result of this. China and Russia are very heavily and with great, I guess, sense of urgency, warning us not to do this. What does this go to unleash? What is this going to get us? Especially if we're not looking to get Assad out. I mean, is the whole thing worth it?
Well, I think you and I have had numerous discussions over the last number of months, and that's the question in every country in the Middle East, that we have tried to exert American influence. You go all the way back to 2009 with the Green Revolution. We wanted to influence the Iranian government, so we didn't stand with the people in the streets of Iran, and the Green Revolution was squashed. We stood with the people in the streets, the Muslim Brotherhood, against Mubarak, and we saw where that got us. We saw, we stood with the people in the streets against Gaddafi. We see that where that has gotten us after training them, equipping them, and believing that we had them under the control. The same people in Libya that we helped and who overthrew Libya turned on us in Benghazi, and now we've got I think we've got a worse situation in Syria, and Iran spun out of control, Egypt has spun out of control, Libya has spun out of control. Syria, I think, we intervene, and there's no good alternatives, but I think there's it's very likely that it will escalate, it will spin out of control, it will may spill over into Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, and Turkey, again, because we haven't thought about what our long-term goal and objective is in Syria. We're going to engage in a tactic rather than a strategic mission.
I got one more for you, Congressman, and we got about a minute and a half left. John McCain said today that the president allowed Assad to use these chemical weapons by his inaction over all this time. Do you agree with that?
I think that the president has created an environment throughout the Middle East where the leaders have believed that they can get away with a lot. Compare this to what happened to Gaddafi, and I met with him 3 times after 2004. He saw what happened to Saddam Hussein. He turned his weapons over to the U.S. government and became an ally.
Right.
This president has been weak through the Middle East, and we've seen, greater hostility towards Israel, persecution of religious minorities, and a multiplication of jihadi safe havens throughout the Middle East.
Absolutely. Congressman, we have to end it there. I look forward to our next chat. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you, Steve. Have a great day.
You too. Congressman Pete Hoekstra, former chair of the House Intelligence Committee. When we come back, should Christian photographers be forced to photograph lesbian weddings on the Steve Malzberg Show?